What's going on, y'all? Hope everybody's been doing good. Hope everybody's having a good afternoon. Life was life, and bruh, so I had kind of a delay. But getting back into the court documents here for the Drake and UMG lawsuit, the lawsuit appears to be updated, bro, and it looks like it took a different turn. It looks like an order for admission for pro hac vice. Now, pro hac vice. Now, if you don't know what pro hac vice is, taking a quick look here, pro hac vice is a phrase in Latin that means for this occasion or for this event. It's a legal term used in U.S. courts. It allows an attorney who is not licensed to practice in a particular jurisdiction, like a specific state or federal court district, to temporarily appear in a specific case in that jurisdiction. In other words, if a lawyer is licensed in California, but a case is happening in New York, they can't automatically argue in that court. They could apply for a pro hac vice admission, which, if approved, lets them participate in that one case only without being licensed in New York. Now, this is all important because it looks like the people in the last video, the Amicus, the educators, the scholars who inserted themselves, it looks like they're doing the pro hac vice to participate in this lawsuit, meaning that the scholars that came in through Amicus brief were approved to participate. So the requirements for a pro hac vice: the attorney must be in good standing with their home state bar. They usually must work with local counsel and attorney licensed in the jurisdiction. They must submit a motion to the court requesting permission and pay a fee, and sometimes submit a certificate of good standing. So these are the things that they're required for a pro hac vice, which I'm sure these scholars or educators that inserted themselves via Amicus brief are able to provide. I believe the motion is for Jack Ivan Lerner for admission to practice pro hac vice in the above captioned action is granted. So they gave the individual by Jack Ivan Lerner, this is one of the scholars, one of the educators, it seems that they had granted the motion for him. The applicant has declared that he/she is a member in good standings of the bar in state of California. So he got that checked out already. And that his or her contact information is as followed. I'll probably cover that up right here. The applicant having requested admission to pro hac vice to appear for all purposes counsel for Cheris Kubrin, Jack Lerner, Adam Dunbar, and Kyle written in the above entitled action. It is hereby ordered that the applicant is admitted to practice pro hac vice in the above captioned case in the United States District Court for the Southern District of New York. All attorneys appearing before this court are subject to the local rules of this court, including the rules governing discipline of attorneys. This was signed by the judge, Jeanette A. Vargas. Now, Jack Lerner is going to have the opportunity to present himself in court once everything gets situated. Like I said, this was granted because they had notified the court through amicus brief. So if the individual was accepted through pro hac vice for the purpose of submitting an amicus brief, their role is limited to that function. However, submitting the brief on behalf of amici curiae, a friend of the court, they are not automatically allowed to represent a party in the case, appear at oral argument unless the court specifically permits it for amici, file other motions, or participate in discovery. So just because Jack Lerner, this educator, is being granted through pro hac vice doesn't mean that he'll be able to see the discovery himself. Now, remember the whole purpose of the amici. Remember how they participated in this. Jack Lerner, who got granted to step into the court. All of this was to make sure that rap lyrics don't get used in the court of law and are taken literal. They were making sure that they could use their education and their professionalism in the court of law, so that way they could educate the court as well as others that you shouldn't be using the rap lyrics in a literal sense because it affects the First Amendment. It violates the rights of the First Amendment. And when you take rap lyrics literal, they were also stating that it could be a racial bias. For these reasons, they had stepped in to let the court know, to educate the court and let them know that rap lyrics shouldn't be used in this case with UMG versus Drake. Drake obviously being the person that's trying to use rap lyrics against Kendrick Lamar and UMG for Not Like Us. It seems like they're finally going to listen to what they got to say. However, it's presented in the court, I'm not sure. We'll find out later in the near future. Now that the pro hac vice is active and granted, it will let the individual participate, but only within the scope the court granted. For amici, that's usually limited unless expanded by court order. So I'm sure the details of how much they could help is going to come out soon. Since they're coming in as amicus brief, they'll only be granted some brief access, not entire access, I'm assuming, but we'll learn about that later on. Because of the rap lyrics being used in the court of law, this affects the First Amendment. Because of these reasons, the amici, the educators, the scholars, they're requesting for this motion to be dismissed. Another update in the court was this letter that was submitted to the judge by Annie Houghton Larson. It says, we write on behalf of the parties in the above captioned action regarding the briefing schedule for defendant's motion to dismiss, ECF number 43, and related request for notice, ECF number 44. The court previously granted an extended briefing schedule permitting plaintiff to file his opposition to the motion to dismiss on May 28, 2025, the defendant to file its reply on June 11, 2025, ECF number 40. That order was silent on the timing of the briefing a defendant's request for judicial notice. The parties have conferred and agreed that their intention was to have the opposition and reply papers for the request for judicial notice to be filed concurrently with the motion to dismiss papers. The parties respectfully request the court enter an order confirming the understanding. Plaintiff's opposition to the request for judicial notice is due on May 28th, and defendant's reply is due on June 11th. But in English, all of that is just supposed to mean that the plaintiff's opposition is due on May 28th, and the defendant, which is Drake, is supposed to reply to it on June 11th. ECF number 43 is defendant's motion to dismiss. The defendant, which is UMG, requesting the motion to dismiss. Drake has until June 11th to respond to it. So we'll probably hear from this before then or around that time. So Drake and his lawyers are going to respond to the motion to dismiss again. At this point, we'll wait and see what Drake and his lawyers have to say. I wonder why they never said anything about the amici, about the amicus brief when it came to these scholars, these educators, right? Because in the recent document, the scholars that are now going to be granted participation, they had said that they reached out to UMG and Drake. UMG were the only ones that said, if you involve yourselves, we're not going to hold you from that. When they reached out to Drake and his team, they didn't get a response. I still wonder why Drake's team didn't respond. Maybe they were hoping that if they ignored them, they wouldn't participate. It looks like that's far from the case now. Now that they're granted access for the situation via ProHack Vice, it looks like we're going to start to see what it is that they have to say. Now, their access that they were granted is limited at this time, but we'll see how they act moving forward. This amicus brief had gotten approved, and it looks like they're being taken serious. And since they're fighting for the protection of rap lyrics being used in a court of law, as well as the First Amendment, I feel like the chances of this case getting dismissed or Drake losing this case are starting to look very strong here, if they're letting these individuals participate in this case now. But y'all tell me how you feel about this and get back to me, man. Y'all tell me how you feel about all this and let me know. Do you think that UMG is going to get this case dismissed? Do you think Drake is going to lose this case? Do you think that the amicus brief was useful in this case? The First Amendment is very important, and this is why they even stepped in the first place, was to protect rights like that, because we know that Drake going against the First Amendment, going against rap lyrics, it all goes against our rights. But being this petty is showing you that people just don't care about rights to a certain extent. But y'all tell me how you feel about this and get back to me, man. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see y'all in the next video, man. Peace. Keep it a legend. And real quick, y'all, I just wanted to give a huge shout out to all the individuals from the Ville, everybody that was able to help me. I was in a jam yesterday, if you don't know. And because of the help from everybody here in the channel, bro, I just want to give you a huge thank you. Thank you to Yvette, Miss Yvette. I appreciate you so much. Thank you to Supermom as well as Chalk. Thank you to Michelle, Zenus47, High C, Quality Reacts, J Tom Reactions, bro. I appreciate everybody that helped me. High C, Nate, everybody that helped me out in this situation, bro. I can't thank you enough. If it wasn't for y'all, I'd probably still be in the jam and I wouldn't be able to post today. So I appreciate y'all so much, bro, from the bottom of my heart. Anybody that helped me up until this point, anybody that had helped me and I didn't mention you, bro, thank you so much. I thank you from the bottom of my heart, bro. I can't express how thankful I am. Forever grateful, bro. I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. I love y'all, man. I hope y'all have a good day, and I'll see y'all in the next video, man. Peace.